back to another story here on What Inspires You, hosted by We Set the Stage. Today's story is about a young lady who's a poet here in the DMV area that talks about social norms. Mamie Brown uses her words to inspire, to motivate, and to empower her peers and her colleagues around her. Her poems are a correlation to what's around her and to the experiences she goes through in life. So I hope you enjoy her story today.
My name is Mamie Brown. I go by Stiletto. Stiletto is a name that I picked up because my sister said that I like to wear stilettos. However, I went further and began to explore with that name because I wasn't exactly a girly girl. And it wasn't until I decided what my life was supposed to be lived like as a woman in front of my son. He needed to know his mom was a girl. I was a tomboy. And so I chose Stiletto because I wanted to, if I had to, stand in the tallest pair of shoes to listen to what God had over my life for me and my son. So I used Stiletto as a premise to do my poetry, to just stand tall in the things I believe in. I began writing poetry as a teenager, and then I put my pen down because I was writing poetry for someone or people or boys that didn't appreciate it. And it wasn't until 3 years ago I was actually asked to host a venue for poetry. And when I began to hear what I had always wanted to speak about, and I became inspired to continue writing, pick my pen back up and use it as a voice of freedom for myself. I primarily write poetry about social awareness, neighborhood unity, women empowerment, inspirational poetry, because, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, everyone wants to be inspired by someone's word or their experience. And so I generally write poetry about what people generally don't want to talk about. And it needs a voice, it needs to be heard. What inspires me to continue writing poetry today is for the little girl who doesn't have a big sister, or that's someone who is coming out of an unbelievable experience where they thought they would never be. They've always heard stories of their friends and other people in the news, and they find themselves in those same predicaments. And also about how to free yourself, how to free that person within themselves that either cannot stand up for themselves and wants to be heard, or that's someone who is generally just not as outspoken as they thought they were. And so I get that a lot when someone comes to me and say, you said exactly what I've been wanting to say. And so what I do is I begin to take that and use that as aspiration to continue to write. If someone wanted to begin writing poetry, I would tell them to write about everything, even if it's the silliest thing. I would encourage them to write a rap. I would encourage them to write about a TV show. I would encourage them to write about a car going down the street, a family member that they love that is so funny, a book they have read, because those little excerpts that they write from those experiences, they become bigger. And as they begin to write, they begin to find out that they have more to write about, even if it's the silliest thing. So if a person wanted to get into it and they find themselves with a bunch of messages or a bunch of excerpts from those experiences, I would encourage them to go out and maybe get feedback and just experience an open mic. An open mic gave me a lot of freedom. It's scary at first, but someone needs to know what you've been through or what you've experienced, even if it's funny. They want to know. And so it's in part life experiences and it's in part entertainment at the same time. So I would encourage that person to keep writing. I would encourage that person to record themselves, see how they sound, because your message is yours, but how it comes across to someone else, it may be life-changing for them.
Mamie, I thank you for sharing your story with us. and telling us why you love writing so much and why you like expressing your feelings through words. If you want to learn more about Mamie, her information is in the description below. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for the rest of the stories this season. As always, stay tuned and follow us on our social media sites like Instagram, Twitter, Google+, and Facebook to stay updated to everything that we're doing. So hope to see you all next week. Have a safe and blessed night.
A role model and a mentor for you that are coming up in different
Spark Innovation, which is an inspiration entertainment company dedicated to finding creative ways to inspire the world.